Want to level up your leadership? Welcome to The Boss Coach.
Hey boss, how's business? Patrick got me talking in metrics. Hey boss, how's business? I'm the boss coach of my own moves. Hey
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. You know, I am still liking the new theme song, aren't you? Drop me a comment to see whether you love it or just like it. Surely it's one of those two, right? Well, hey, boss, how's business? Do you all have your goals and KPIs set for the year yet? You know, in case you don't know, KPIs, key performance indicators. They're how you know that you're hitting the goals that you're shooting for. Look at me boss-splaining to you. You know, this week I had to actually do a real job. That is, we had Monday off for the holiday, and I renovated one of our upstairs bedrooms. Had to tear all the carpet out and the pad, and then prep the floor and lay in some nice wood flooring or laminate. A lot of work. That was 3 days that I'm still in pain for. It made me realize that, you know, I'm kind of spoiled in my job, and I wouldn't call it doing real work. Those of you out there who have a manual job are doing the real work. The rest of us are just kind of spoiled brats, but I'm okay with that after this week. I will stay in my lane and let you rule yours. Well, thanks for clicking and listening. As always, my name is Patrick McGranahan. Welcome back to Boss Coach. If some really awesome friend of yours shared this with you and you're new, please check out the podcast trailer. That's episode 100. Gives you a little background on what the Boss Coach is all about, what I'm trying to do. Of course, we have a whole season 1 out there too, and it's all focused on management and leadership basics, so I encourage you to check that out. And you know, that's how you start training for a sport too, right? Learning the basics. See, not only am I a boss coach, but in the past I also coached a handful of kids' soccer teams. I really love teaching them how to dribble, pass, shoot, you know, all the fundamentals. Really try to keep them from picking grass and chasing bugs and wrestling during games. That was all good times, but a whole lot of fun. You know, coaching is the essence of leading and vice versa. I've always said that. That's kind of my whole philosophy on this podcast. So it stands to reason that we can learn great lessons from one of the most fantastic fictional coaches of all time, the raconteur of AFC Richmond. Yes, that's right, Coach Ted Lasso.
AFC Richmond announced the hiring of their new manager, American football coach Ted Lasso.
You're an American who's now in charge of a football club despite possessing very little knowledge of the game.
I know that AFC Richmond is going to give you everything they got, win or lose.
Or tie.
Right, y'all do ties here.
And why do we love Ted Lasso so much? Is it his vulnerable resilience, infectious optimism? What is it about him that just makes us want to be good leaders? Are you inspired to put up a believe sign above your door? Do you love his folksy wisdom? Do you just love the mustache? Whatever it is, but does Ted Lasso really live up to the hype as a leader? Are there lessons here? Well, let's dig into it. If you haven't seen the Apple TV hit Ted Lasso, first, where have you gone wrong in life? But next, to sum it up, it's an American college football coach from Kansas, and he goes to England to manage a fictitious European Football League team, the AFC Richmond Greyhounds. His kindness and positivity really turns around this dysfunctional losing team and inspires each player to be their best selves using what he calls the Lasso way. It's great characters, really smart, charming dialogue, tons of humor, feel-good messages. It's got everything. But it's really a show about servant leadership at its core. And since you know I love servant leadership, I've identified 9 key themes to the Lasso way that help to explain how to coach according to servant leadership. So Ted Lasso theme number 1 is empathy and kindness. These are a few of my favorite things, as you know. Ted Lasso stars Casey's own Jason Sudeikis, who is a lot like his own character, of course, genuinely caring for people, learning and understanding their motivations, taking the time to build relationships, etc. Ted even formed a close relationship with their equipment manager. Like, it doesn't matter. He's relating to everybody right where they are. Here's how I try to be like Ted regarding theme number 1. So I concentrate on the kindness. I want to treat people as I want to be treated. It sounds very cliched, but it works every time. I have reports that, go through tough times. We all do. It's life. Life happens. So I make sure we send them gifts. Encourage them to take all the PTO that they want. Keep in contact. Not paying so close attention to any missed goals. Show compassion. Show love. Just be human toward them. It's really not that complicated. And that's the key to empathy and kindness. All right, theme number 2 for Ted Lasso is vulnerability and authenticity. Don't pretend to be perfect. Just admit your mistakes and show your human side to build trust. It doesn't make you any less of a boss. A major plot line in the show is Ted's mental health. He even has an anxiety attack during a game. He may retreat for a bit, but then he comes back, he owns up to it, and he starts a conversation with the team about mental health. And they open up too. And he even forms a little mini group of men to kind of vent to each other called the Diamond Dogs. Really funny stuff there. But here's how I try to be like Ted when it comes to vulnerability and authenticity. So I just tell myself, look, I'm not a big deal. I'm not the main character character of this particular show that I'm in right now. I am very open with my teams and my boss. 2 years ago, an extended family issue was going on. It was very challenging. It was a rough time for us all. And I had to just open up without giving too many details and just be vulnerable about what I was going through and let them have the ability to show me some authenticity and vulnerability too. It's a scary thing to do, but you have to do it. It really gives you that authenticity skill that Ted Lasso excels at. Theme number 3 is optimism and resilience. You have to maintain hope and see obstacles as opportunities. In Ted Lasso's case, he knew nothing about soccer. He knew American football, but not European football. He had to learn all from the beginning on this. He also fostered this culture of believe. So Ted puts up this crude hand-drawn believe sign in the locker room above the door. You may have seen this graphic or someone shared a meme with it. It's very popular. And Richmond had been the laughingstock of the European football world, but teaches that when you believe, you achieve. Yes, it rhymes, but it's still true. Here's how I try to be like Ted when it comes to optimism and resilience. So my believe statement is the saying, here to help. I say that about my support teams. We're always here to help. It's very simple, but it speaks exactly to the servicing and caring role that we have. Everything goes back to that slogan because it's our purpose. I'll always ask, hey, are we helping here? Are we present for those who need us? Are we showing a caring work ethic? We celebrate little wins too, like whenever the team gets all perfect 5 scores on their surveys for the week, we call it a perfect week, and we keep track of them for the year, and we make a big deal of it in meetings. You know, you've got to show people that optimism and resilience is all about celebrating when you do it well.
Hey, guys, look. We got a good thing going here, all right? All we need to win are the fellas in this room right now. And all you fellas need to do is believe it.
Ted Lasso theme number 4 is inclusivity and development. You have to see potential in everyone. Like in the case of Ted Lasso, it was the equipment man Nate, who ended up being brilliant at playmaking. You have to give credit where credit's due, invest in developing people beyond their current roles. It means really investing in your people emotionally and physically. Now, in Ted Lasso, Roy Kent is a main player who's really cranky, aging star, very foul-mouthed, really funny, but he doesn't always get along with the rest of the team. Well, in one case, one of the team members was kind of bullying another, so he went to Ted and said, hey, you got to do something about this. Ted refused to do it. Ted said he's not going to get involved because what he knew would happen was Roy Kent was going to step up. Roy Kent was going to start to show his leadership skills by intervening on their behalf and helping the player who was being bullied. Well, obviously it didn't take long for Roy to realize that Ted had pulled one over on him and tricked him into showing his own inclusivity and development side, which was one step towards him being a leader. Here's how I try to be like Ted Lasso when it comes to inclusivity and development. You know what? This is the time where I failed. Full disclosure. For external support team, last year, I hired a guy named Mark. And going through training, he's just a little bit older than me, but he just wasn't terribly on the tech side. He was more in the empathy side, more in the creativity side, which I thought would be wonderful for this role because it's all about caring for people who are in a tough spot. Well, he came to me during the training and said, I don't know if I can do this. There's a lot of tech. But I talked him into it and I said, you've used these kind of skills in previous jobs, but I believe in you. We will give you all the training that you need, all the backing and support for you to be successful here because I see something in you that will make anyone that you deal with very, very happy and show them outstanding service. Well, unfortunately, 3 days after training ended, he quit. And you know what? I let him. I'd already tried to make him stay, but he just didn't believe in himself. And unfortunately, that is a very crucial skill when it comes to development. All right, number 5 theme here is curiosity over judgment. You ask questions. You seek to understand rather than assuming or judging others. I know sometimes it's quick to just make a judgment call on someone and think you know them, but you don't. Everyone has their own story, and so you need to find it out. There's a really famous dart scene in Ted Lasso where he's playing against somebody and he talks about how everyone has misjudged him all his life because they thought they knew who he was, but they never got to know him. They never asked questions. You have to be curious, not judgmental. That's what he said, and that really stuck with me. And here's how I try to be like Ted when it comes to curiosity. I've always asked so many questions. Even when I first started talking, I remember aunts and uncles saying, can you get this kid to shut up? I was talking with one of my leader reports in a one-to-one recently, and it was about one of their reports, one of their individual contributors who really doesn't mind awkward silences during meetings, and that was kind of off-putting. So I walked through how I dealt with that person in my touch bases with them, and we discussed going through the process of asking leading questions, which lead to other questions, and then more questions. And so an example of that is, what did you do last weekend? Do you like to go on hikes? Oh, you don't? This is a one-time thing. What do you usually do? Oh, you usually like indoor activities. So do you go to art galleries? Oh, well, I know in your city there's a great art gallery and they have a wing devoted to this. You went there a month ago. Oh, that's really cool. And each thing just keeps going on and on and on. You will find things to get them talking because asking questions and being curious means being interested, and that means you are investing in them. And that definitely shows that you're curious. Okay, the next Ted Lasso theme, number 6, is embrace change and adapt. Great way to do this here is to frame change as being brave and positive. You create an environment where people feel safe to experiment and grow, and that's about adapting, not feeling like you'll be ostracized for failure. Ted himself was never really set in the rules of European football and soccer. He didn't know what he was doing. He had to learn everything from scratch. So he entertained bold strategies and let them experiment with plays and new tactics, let them really get creative. He really set to adapt to his environment and embrace change, although he never really adapted to tea. He called it sad brown water. That's a whole thing. Anyway, here's how I tried to be like Ted when it comes to embracing change. So one employee pointed out that some other employees weren't pulling their weight. This was early on in one of my teams. So rather than try to get into solution mode, I just said, well, what are your ideas? And oddly enough, she immediately had a great idea. She said, why don't you show the individual metrics in our weekly meeting, like a leaderboard, make it like we're celebrating, and then show things like, the survey scores, resolution times, pending issues, etc., all the major key indicators, and then see how they stack up against others without shaming anybody. Just show it so we celebrate those who are on top, and everyone who might not be performing will then see how they measure up and want to do better. And it worked wonderfully. That goes with embracing change and adapting rather than just being stuck on your own ideas. Theme number 7 is humility and accountability. Apologize sincerely when you're wrong, and I mean sincerely. Leaders don't need to be the expert on everything. You don't need to be right all the time either. Ted Lasso apologizes to the team a lot, even when they lose, rather than demanding that they apologize or explain why they lost. He's always very self-effacing too in a very endearing way. Here's how I try to be like Ted when it comes to humility and accountability. I did a brief stint in a quick service restaurant management gig. I don't like to talk about it, but in training they show you how to strain the fry vats, the frying vats with french fries and such, Well, I didn't quite line up the drain correctly, and long story short, I dumped hot oil all over the floor. I mean, what can you do there other than just apologize and help clean it up? It was a lesson learned in a very hot and nasty way. It was really, really awful. I'll never do that again. But it's about owning up and not blaming the equipment, not blaming the training. I messed up and we move on. Theme number 8 for Ted Lasso is very similar to the last one. That is, be a goldfish. Well, this is really important and relevant to the show. So if you're not familiar with the show, then hopefully this will clear it up a little bit. It means don't let past mistakes define you. Don't let failures mar how you move forward. Just learn from it and move on quickly. Ted tells the team that a goldfish has a memory of 10 seconds. And to be like a goldfish, he even takes them down into the sewer and says, literally, see the crap float by? That's what you do. Let all the crap in your life float on by and get past it immediately. For me, here's how I try to be more like Ted Lasso when it comes to being a goldfish. So before I ran a trading team, and one of your biggest fears is making a trade error, because in other jobs, if you make a mistake, you apologize. In that type of a position, if you make a mistake, the company writes a big check. Whenever there was a trade error that was attributed to the team, we would talk about it briefly, figure out what we learned from it, and then move on. That's it. If you let a mistake eat at you, you spiral into failure. You just gotta be like Ted and let that crap go.
Hey, Sam, come here a sec.
Coach, I'm sorry.
You know what the happiest animal on earth is? It's a goldfish. You know why?
No.
It's got a 10-second memory. Be a goldfish, Sam. Yeah?
Finally, theme number 9 is communication and humor. Use humor and open, honest communication to build that connection and really lighten serious situations. The show is a comedy, obviously, and Ted excels at that. He tells dad jokes, puns, etc. It keeps the lines of communication open, just like his office door. There's this part where he makes cookies, or as they say in England, biscuits, for his boss, and so he calls that Biscuits with Boss. And what it did was, she loved these biscuit cookies that he would bring to her, and that would mean that he could sit down with her for a few minutes and discuss the team and discuss challenges and just talk through any opportunities they have together. Great way to open the communication, and with a tasty sweet treat. Here's how I try to be like Ted when it comes to communication and humor. Remember last season we talked all about humor skills with Kevin Hubschman, great guy, and it really is more about good communication skills rather than just being funny. Now, I hold daily stand-ups with my teams where we laugh, make fun of ourselves, vent about other people in teams and departments, whatever it is. It just makes us all feel connected. When I worked in the coffee business, I had an employee named Back. They were kind of laughing in the corner one day, and I asked what was going on, what was funny, and he didn't want to tell me. And finally, another guy who worked there, Dave, said, well, Back does an impression of you. It's really funny. Well, they were horrified. Back thought I was going to be really angry, but I said, oh, I have to hear this. Please do this. And he did a really spot-on, funny impression of me. I loved it, and way after that, I would always ask him to redo it because it made me laugh so much. You just have to not take yourself too seriously. So that's how you lead like Ted Lasso. Use empathy and kindness, be vulnerable and authentic, be optimistic and resilient, exercise inclusivity and development, put curiosity over judgmental, change and adapt, show that you're humble, show your humility and accountability, be a goldfish, and use good communication and humor. You know, my favorite Ted Lasso quote from the show is, "For me, success is not about the wins and losses. It's about helping these young fellows be the best versions of themselves on and off the field." Wow, that's a lot. But do you see what that does? It means your job is to grow and develop your people. It is not to win the projects or win the business or win the day. The wins are ancillary. It's really about focusing on the people and their development. And that is the heart of servant leadership. Now, here's what you can do right now to level up your leadership like Coach Lasso. I want you to draw a sign, maybe a sticky note, whatever, with your inspirational belief statement, whatever that is. Write that down, put it over your office door, in your cubicle, or wherever where you're going to see it every day. And I think you'll be surprised on how important that saying becomes. It will be as important to you as believe is to that show. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm Patrick McGranahan, the Boss Coach. Make sure to follow Boss Coach if you're on Spotify. Some platforms tell you to subscribe, whatever it is. That way you get notice of new episodes and you can be up to date on what my content looks like. Also, a big shout out to my UK fans. Speaking of Ted Lasso, I've got a bunch of you over there. Cheers to you, Gov. Thanks for listening. And also remember to like and leave comments. That's what the algorithm likes. Tell me if you're excited to see the next season of Ted Lasso they're filming. In fact, they're filming it in my hometown. Or at least they did a couple months ago. Can't wait for that. Keep sharing episodes too, especially for people who aren't in leadership yet but would like to. In the case of today's episode, share with friends who are big Ted Lasso fans. It shouldn't be too hard to find those. Diamond Dogs! Woof, woof, woof. Until then, I will see you next time on The Boss Coach. Back to work, boss.
Thank you for joining us today for The Boss Coach, hosted by Patrick McGranahan. We'd also like to thank our associate producer Hannah and consulting contributor Stephanie. Original music provided by Sono AI Studio. All statements and opinions by our host and guests are solely their own observations and may not reflect those of their contemporaries or employers. Please check out other episodes of The Boss Coach for more valuable opportunities to level up your leadership. Until next time, I am your announcer, Ava. Have a great day, and as always, lead with your heart.